Hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some freaking money. It's time for Pocket with Jo. Good morning, everyone. Jo here with SportsGrid. Happy Friday. It's time for Pocket with Jo over here on a SportsGrid TV. We've got a busy slate for a Friday out there, so we're going to jump right into those games. Again, we'll do the recap at the end of the show and build a round robin. So if you can't hang out for the full time, don't worry. Come back. I will make sure I timestamp when that recap kicks off and when we kick off with that round robin. So let's jump straight into things. Let me know one, where you're watching from, two, what you're liking out there on the ice today. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs will take on the Buffalo Sabres. This one kicking off at 7 p.m. Eastern. All odds are, as always, over on FanDuel for this game. Minus 142 here for the Toronto Maple Leafs on the road and plus 118 for the Buffalo Sabres. Now, if you say yuck on the Buffalo Sabres and don't want to bet on this team, I don't blame you. This team absolutely struggling out there. This team also has a really weak kill, and they take a ton of penalties. So you got to think the Toronto Maple Leafs will capitalize on that as they have a strong kill here, and the opportunities that they're going to have is nice, and it's going to be a lot of them. This total sitting at 6.5 plus 102 to the over. When I look at this one, I do think it has to go over. I'm expecting the Buffalo Sabres to be able to get some goals on the board early in this game. This is a team that has been in the majority of these games, even though they've lost their last 11, being able to put up some goals in them. And I do think that first period and how they've looked and come out strong in the first period in a lot of these games on this losing streak and them not able to capitalize and lock down on the defensive side is where we need to look again in this one. I'm going to look at the over 6.5 at plus 102. Again, I do think the Toronto Maple Leafs will get the majority of the scoring, though, because of how strong this power play is, the lack of defense on that kill for the Buffalo Sabres. I'm also going to look here at the game in the first period to really open up. I think that's your best bet is to hit the over 1.5 in the first period and the both teams to score. The both teams to score, you're getting great plus money at plus 180 and the over 1.5. In the first period, you're going to have to lay the juice. Toronto could get both of the goals themselves, but with Buffalo starting off hot in the majority of their games in the first period, I expect them to be able to hit Matt Murray here, who is expected in net tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, Lankigan is expected here for the Buffalo Sabres. This Sabres team has lost their last 3 games by 2 goals, so if you want to come in on the Toronto Maple Leafs, on that puck line, I don't blame you. I'm going to stay off of it. I just love the over 1.5 in the first period and both teams to score. But the puck line here for Toronto is coming in minus 1.5 at plus 160. So you're getting that great plus money. We did see this matchup just on the 15th, so 5 days ago, and we saw Toronto able to win it 5-3. Now, I'm looking here at Mitch Marner to be impactful on that power play. We look here, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they start off the season kind of slow on that power play. They really have been clicking as of late. They've got 19 power play goals on the season. 16 power play points have been put up by Mitch Marner. So looking at him for the power play point tonight is a great way to go. It's just under 2-1 to your money. It's coming in at like plus 175. For Mitch Marner for that power play point. So definitely who I have circled. Jack Quinn, though, for the Buffalo Sabres, he's got strong numbers versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. And something I always try to look at is the recency and how these players have played against certain teams. So Jack Quinn has 1 goal in 4 of the last 5 versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I do think he is your playmaker there for the Buffalo Sabres to look out and be able to put up that goal. So you're going to get great plus of money with him. I think when we look here at the Sabres, this is terrible. Like, this team is 11 losses. I think they lose again tonight. I'm not willing to get on the puck line because I do think they're in desperation mode for them to get a win. But I think they roll into the break still winless. They're at the Bruins tomorrow, Isles on Monday. I just can't see this team getting the win before the Christmas break. I think they need a reset. I think they need the break. And then I think they come out of the break strong. When we look at them out of the break, they will face the Chicago Blackhawks and then the St. Louis Blues and the Stars. I think they get a nice win over the Chicago Blackhawks. I think then they struggle to, but they get the win over the Blues and then they lose to the Stars. So I do think we're going to have some success, but out of the break. I'm not taking them before the break to get things done. So that is where I'm going with this matchup, you guys. Happy Friday to each and every one of you. Yeah, there was some hard games out there on the ice last night. Tage Thompson, 400th career goal. I miss that, Dawson. I love that you're bringing that into this game. Tage Thompson is a playmaker out there for the Buffalo Sabres, and if he's up for goal 400, I absolutely love it. Tonight, we know Toronto tries to lock down on the defensive side, but Buffalo in this situation, Tage Thompson has been so strong for them, so I would definitely look there in this game. Great call, Dawson, on that one. Let's talk another game that I think we could see the road upset here. The Montreal Canadiens at plus 130 versus the Detroit Red Wings. These two teams play again tomorrow in Montreal. And while I normally like to look at the home team here on the first night of a home and road situation, I just can't get there. Montreal, while neither of these teams is scoring a lot of goals, we have seen a lot of high danger chances out there for Montreal. And as of late, they've been lighting the lamp. And I do think this team, Patrick Laine, Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, are going to find the back of the net tonight. Now, this total sitting at 6.5, plus 110 to the over, minus 134 to the under. Montreal, again, plus 130 here on the money line. It's just where I'm going to go. I'm going to take the total out of it. I'm going to look at Montreal just to come in nice and hot in this game, put up the goals, and to be able to win this one on the road at plus 130. Now, we are losing some value. It was plus 138 earlier in the day. So, it's going to be a great matchup. Original 6 matchup. Sam Montague expected here from Montreal, and Cam Talbot expected for the Detroit Red Wings. Now, I know the Red Wings have playmakers like Lucas Raymond. Lucas Raymond has been strong at home as well. He's been able to score in the last 8 home games, 7 goals. So we're seeing those goals come for Lucas Raymond. I expect him to still get on the board here today versus Sam Montague. But at the end of the day, how things shake out, I think Montreal walks away with the win, and we're going to get plus money. Now, does that mean I think Montreal is going to win again at home in the next one? I don't know. The Red Wings could answer back tomorrow. It's going to come down to how they played today and what we see out of them. So tonight, give me Montreal and that plus money, you guys. What a win by the Bolts yesterday. I was so skeptical of I can't say that word now, skeptical of my team, but it was a fantastic win out of the Bolts. Okay. The St. Louis Blues are taking on the Florida Panthers. Could we have another dog upset, this time the dog winning on the road? The St. Louis Blues will have to bring everything they've got if they want to beat the Florida Panthers here. Joel Hofer will have to have a flawless game to be able to do so, but I do think it could be on the cards. Now, when we look at Joel Hofer versus the Florida Panthers, he's faced them twice in his career. In the first game, he only allowed 1 goal on something like crazy 34, 35 shots on net. In the second game, the Florida Panthers were able to get those goals up on him. I'm looking for a strong day out of him. I'm looking for the defense to lock down in front of him, and for the St. Louis Blues to keep this tight. Now, can they pull off the upset? They absolutely could. I think it's worth a sprinkle. I'm going to take the St. Louis Blues plus 1.5 on the puck line at minus 110. And then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit at plus 245 on the money line. And I know it's nuts. We got the reigning Stanley Cup champs here with the Florida Panthers at minus 310 at home on the money line. We got a total of 5.5. I just think St. Louis, with how they've been playing, they've won 5 of their last 6 games as an underdog. They're able to bring it in these games. If Joel Hofer can stand on his head, I like this matchup here for them. The Florida Panthers, yes, they have won their last 2. They're off the big win versus the Minnesota Wild, but they also have the Tampa Bay Lightning on deck, who's sitting 4th in the Atlantic. So they have a divisional matchup here with the Tampa Bay Lightning. That is on Sunday, and then they're on the road on Monday. They face this team Sunday and Monday, home and road. So they've got that situation where it is a real look ahead for me. I think the St. Louis Blues could pull it off. It's scary. I know. It's second night of a back-to-back here for the St. Louis Blues as well. They are off the loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-1. So we could have tired legs, but I just think Joel Hofer can steal this one for them. I'm going to take the St. Louis Blues. Give me the St. Louis Blues on the puck line, plus 1.5, minus 110 with the sprinkle on that money line at plus 245. Now, I would look at Kyrou here for those anytime goals. I'd look at Robert Thomas, maybe parlaying both of those guys for their points to come out nice and strong, as well as Jake Neighbors. We know how strong they have been out there on the ice. Kev, happy Friday to you too. And yeah, the St. Louis Blues have been really strong when playing in Florida. This is a team that they play hard, and they normally catch Florida in a weird scheduling spot like this. To be able to get that 6-1 win over the Minnesota Wild, and then to have 2 games versus Tampa on deck, I think it's just one of those games where it is a letdown situation for the Florida Panthers. Next, let's move on to the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, the Carolina Hurricanes are taking on the Washington Capitals. Current lines on this, the Canes rolling in as a favorite at -156. I can't sign up for this team. They've lost their last 4 on the road. They've been so inconsistent as of late. While they're a solid home team, that road record's not enough for me to step in front of the Washington Capitals, who I love what we're seeing out of this season. The Washington Capitals are a +130 underdog. Hell yeah, I am all over them. Are the books begging me to take the Washington Capitals? Probably, but I am biting. I'm buying into it. I do think this team can find a way to get the win. Now, this total sitting at 5.5. It is juiced to the over at -128, +104 to the under. I think this one has a likelihood of going to overtime, but I do think it's an overtime game that's more than likely to going into OT. And while we know we got playmakers on both sides of the puck that are able to light the lamp, I do think this comes down to goaltending. We have Charlie Lindgren expected here for the Washington Capitals, and Kucherov coming in here for the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina can score, but the Washington Capitals can lock down with the best of them, and so can Carolina. So I think the under is definitely the way you want to look before looking at that over. The under, again, the under is coming in at +104. And I'm going to take the Washington Capitals at +130. Now, we did see these teams match up in November. Carolina was able to get a 4-2 win. So it did go over that total, but I'm expecting 2-2 with the final score being 3-2 in this one. When we look at the Caps, they are strong in that dog situation. They've won 3 of their last 4 games as an underdog as well. So they've been a dominant team. I love them as a home dog, and I think they should be able to get things done. Now, if you're looking for your playmakers for the Washington Capitals, Tom Wilson and Dylan Strome is who I would look at here. Both of these guys on the top couple of lines and playing so solid and so nice out there. But low scoring battle between 2 great goaltenders. Now, if I'm looking at which goaltender will face more shots, these numbers are going to be pretty tight to it because both of these defenses can lock down. So I'm going to stay off the goaltending props. But if I was looking at the St. Louis Blues game, it would be Joe Hofer for his save shots on goal to the over. I'm expecting the Florida Panthers to put up at least 34 shots on Joe Hofer. So I love to mention those goalie props, you guys. Of course, the lines aren't out yet. So if you're getting Joe Hofer over 28, 29.5 save shots on goal, that is where I'd look in that matchup. Again, in this matchup here between the Capitals and the Canes, I just can't go there because I do think that defensive lockdown is coming. Let's look at the Utah Hockey Club. The Utah Hockey Club is taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Now, not the Minnesota Vikings, the Minnesota Wild. Caught myself. I've been talking the Vikings this morning, you guys. The Minnesota Wild are at home at -125 here on the money line. We got +104 for the Utah Hockey Club and a total of 5.5. Now, 5.5 is always scary when you got Kaprizov out there on the ice for the Minnesota Wild. We have -128 to the over on this line and some plus money to the under at +104. If you think Utah is going to be held off the books, I would look at the under in this one. But with what the Minnesota Wild are able to do, and the fact that I do think Utah could push this one to overtime, they've won their last 3 overtime wins at home versus Vancouver on Wednesday. This team has been able to push a lot of teams into those situations and solid good teams as well. I think they could push the Minnesota Wild into this situation with Marc-Andre Fleury in net. Now, the Minnesota Wild have lost their last 2, and this team is a phenomenal team at bouncing back in these situations, able to come out so nice and strong. You got to look at Kaprizov here in that last game versus Utah. That was earlier this season. They were able to get a win, 5-4 in a shootout. He was able to put a beautiful goal on Vermelka, and we got Vermelka expected here. But when we look at him, he's coming off only assists versus the Florida Panthers in that loss. We know Kaprizov has been so strong. I'm looking for that bounce back game out of him. In the 2 games prior, we were able to see him get 2 goals in both of those. So 2 points because of 2 goals. No assists were in those, and that was versus the Vegas Golden Knights and the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm looking at Kaprizov for the 2+ points tonight. That's coming in at plus 122. Now, if you want to take him for a goal, I love him for the goal as well. You're only getting that at plus 100. So I'm going with where I think we're getting more value at plus 122 for Kaprizov. I could see him getting 2 goals in this. If you want to ladder him up to the 2+ goals in this game, it's going to come in at plus 480. So I do think Kaprizov comes out nice and strong in this one. When we look here at Utah, they haven't been getting blown out. And this is a scary thing because we look at the Minnesota Wild. That money line is minus 125. Not enough value for me to just take them straight up on the money line. And I know it's minus 125, but I think Utah is going to push them into a very competitive game out there. And I know Minnesota will want to lock down. I think Utah will keep it tight. So I'm going to play around with this one a little bit, live betting this game. When Utah goes down, if they do, I'm going to look at coming back in on them on that puck line because there's no value on the puck line right now. I do think this one has the opportunity of going to overtime, and normally it's like plus 310 to plus 380 for those overtime bets in the NHL. Well, the books have this game at plus 300 only to go to overtime. I really do think this is a tight competitive battle, and the books are thinking so as well. Now, when we look at the Wild, they have lost or won their last 12 as a favorite off a loss. So this is a strong situation for them to come out. I do think if they go down, it would be looking at them on the money line when they go down, if they go down. And then if Utah goes down, it would be looking at them to come back in on the puck line. So that is where I'm going with that, and that puck line plus the 1.5 and the Wild on the money line. Because I think at the end of the day, the Wild win this in overtime so in overtime in a 1-score game, because that's the only way you win in overtime, right, you guys? That was a conclusion to come to. The New York Rangers, let's jump into a team that I do not trust. The New York Rangers taking on the Dallas Stars. The Rangers are coming in. I looked at the line for the Avs, and I was like, what the heck just happened out there? I saw minus 240, and I was like, what happened? How can the Rangers be that favorite over the Stars? But that is the wrong line. We're looking at a New York Rangers team rolling into Dallas at a plus 146 underdog price. The Dallas Stars at minus 178 here, total of 5.5. Now the juice is to the over 5.5 at minus 130. If you're brave enough to take this one under, it's plus 106. And I do think this one stays under that total. The New York Rangers, I don't have faith in them to light the lamp tonight. They will face Jake Ottinger in goal, who has been strong and has been phenomenally strong at home. Now, Igor Shesterkin, we need to see more out of him. We need to see more out of the defense. And I think the Dallas Stars do struggle to put up a ton of goals on on Igor Shesterkin tonight. So I'm looking at this to stay under the 5.5, but I do think that first period, we have the breakout scoring of the goals. I'll take the over 1.5 in the first period and then the under for the full game. And I know that's scary, but I think we get that locked down in the second and the third period, and goals are hard to come by in that situation. The New York Rangers have lost their last 3 games. They're off the loss to the Predators 2-0. And when we look at the Dallas Stars, they are off a loss. So this team looking to bounce back. They are 6-4 in their last 10 games. They lost to the Leafs at home 5-3. Another team that's very solid at bouncing back off of those losses. So I do think the Stars get the win. I think the Stars get the win in regulation. I'm not worried about the Rangers pushing this one to overtime. Again, I like the over 1.5 in the first period, but the under 5.5 for the full game. So you can play around with this. This could be a nice live betting situation as well. If we see those 2 goals in the first period, like I'm expecting, you can come back in at the under 6.5 at that point, because the books will adjust this total. And I think it's a nice way to go. We also have question marks on it. Panarin will be hitting the ice tonight for the New York Rangers, and without the Breadman on the ice, I really struggle to see where that scoring is going to come for the Rangers in this one. And Adam Fox, though, he is someone you want to look at, because Adam Fox has been able to score on the Dallas Stars. He's been able to score a goal in 5 of the last 6 appearances versus the Dallas Stars. So Adam Fox would be your long shot. And also one thing to look at here with Adam Fox is when you're looking at him for the goal, he went so long this season without getting the goal. We were getting like plus 800 odds for Adam Fox to get a goal. It's coming in at plus 650 tonight. I think it's a strong, nice way to look at a defenseman to be able to score. Yeah, if you guys could hit that like button, retweet, subscribe, I would really appreciate it for sure. So would you take the first period total and then live bet the under? Yeah, that's exactly what I would do, Dawson. I like the plus money I'm getting on the under 5.5 right now. I do think this one finishes right on that number of 5, no matter how it plays out. If the Rangers are able to get one goal and then we see the Stars get 4, or if we see a 3-2 style game. But I do think this is a game where we'll see those goals kick off in the first period, and then we can get a better number at 6.5. Now you'll probably have to lay juice on the under 6.5. So if you think we have the possibility of getting 6 goals, just pushing us over the 5.5 because of that hot start in the first period, then I don't blame you for waiting for the 6.5. But if we get a 6.5, I would expect that to be like right around -122 to -130. So I'm going to jump on the plus money on the under 5.5, even though I'm taking the over 1.5 in the first period, because I do think it shakes out as a lower scoring game, but both of these teams get off to a hot start, or it's just the Dallas Stars that kick off really fast in this one. Now let's talk about the Anaheim Ducks, because I think they're quacking tonight, you guys. We have the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks are plus 195, and we're losing value as the day goes in on this team because a lot of people, I guess, think that they are quacking. The Colorado Avalanche on the second night of a back-to-back are minus 240 favorite here on the road. We got a total of 6.5, -110 to the under 6.5. And I'm going to stay off this total. I will look at the Anaheim Ducks to come in nice and strong at home and get the win. Now, the problem is that puck line at plus 1.5. It's sort of out of range. You guys know I like -144 and below. It's -130 for the Anaheim Ducks. I'll put a half unit on that. I'll put the other half unit on the Ducks on that money line at plus 195. We look at Colorado, second night of a back-to-back. They're off the game last night versus the Sharks. They've got the Kraken on deck on Sunday, and then they're done for the Christmas break. This team sitting 4th in the Central. They already beat the Ducks in a tight game earlier this season in October. It was a 4-3 win for Colorado. Now, Scott Wedgwood expected in net tonight. We know that the Anaheim Ducks with Troy Terry and the playmakers over here should be able to hit Scott Wedgwood. And we've got John Gibson expected here for Anaheim. Anaheim has won their last 2 games. They got a Wednesday win over the Jets. It was so impressive what they were able to do versus the Jets. It was a 3-2 win. The game prior, they pushed the Columbus Blue Jackets to overtime. We're able to get a 4-3 win. I don't think Colorado, getting the win over Colorado is too much to ask for this Ducks team with how they're playing right now, especially with Colorado. The second night of a back-to-back situation for Colorado hasn't been strong. They've lost the last 4 as a favorite on that second night of a back-to-back. So with how juicy they are here on that money line, there's no value. And I wouldn't look at the puck line either because of those trends to them on the second night of a back-to-back. They allow those defensive lapses out there. And Scott Wedgwood, I don't think we can trust against the Anaheim Ducks. So I think the Ducks are quacking. The Ducks can trend to the under. I like how their defense has been locking down in a lot of these games. They've been able to really limit their opponent's ability to get those chances. Now, one thing I think that they need to do is they have to stay out of the box because we know Colorado is so strong on that power play. I'm going to stay off a total in this, but if you're looking at some players who I would circle here for those goals, I'm just going to pull up the anytime goals here for the Anaheim Ducks. Of course, I'm not going to look at Colorado here. I'm going to look at Troy Terry and Leo Carlsson. So Troy Terry for the anytime goal coming in at plus 270. Leo Carlsson is plus 420. Those would be the playmakers I would look at here for the Ducks. I think they have every opportunity to get it done. Let's get this money today. That is right. Let's get this money. Let's do the recap, you guys, and then we will build the round robin parlay as well. You guys, how was your Friday started, by the way? Mine has been absolutely fantastic. I am excited for the rest of the day, excited for Saturday NFL slate. We got great bowl games as well. Things are good in the betting world. So let's jump into this recap. We will go into it as quickly as possible, and then we'll build this round robin. Some reason I'm on college basketball. That is not what I want. Give me NHL. There we go. We got the NHL slate now in front of me. So I guess that's my book's way of telling me that's some college basketball today, Joe. Let's look at Toronto versus Buffalo to start off the recap. Are you guys ready? Let's go. We're at the 24:30 mark so that I remember. The Toronto Maple Leafs taking on the Buffalo Sabres. I do think both of these teams can come hot out in the first period. We've seen the Buffalo Sabres being able to get up in a lot of these games on this losing streak. And I think the over 1.5 definitely is in play. Toronto should be able to score on the power play against a weak kill here of the Buffalo Sabres, who take way too many penalties. So give me the over 1.5 in the first period, both teams to score in the first period. An over game, I think it goes over the total of 6.5. Mitch Marner for the power play point there for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Again, 19 power play goals for the Toronto Maple Leafs this season. Mitch Marner has been involved in 16 of those with 16 power play points. So Tage Thompson, you guys threw it out, 400th goal tonight. I absolutely love it. And then Jack Quinn has had that recency against the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's been able to score 1 goal in 4 of the last 5. So those would be the playmakers there. The Montreal Canadiens taking on the Detroit Red Wings. I feel like Montreal is going to roll in to Detroit tonight and get the win. I will take the plus money on the Montreal Canadiens. The line is dropping in this one. You're losing value. It's now plus 130 on the Montreal Canadiens. It was plus 138 earlier in the day. Again, they play again tomorrow in Montreal. The St. Louis Blues versus the Florida Panthers. I'm smelling an upset. I really do think Joel Hofer is who you want to look at here for his save shots on goal. Again, 29.5 save shots on goal. I will be taking to the over once those numbers come out. I'm expecting the Florida Panthers to put up at least 34 shots on him and for him to stand on his head like he did in the very first time that he faced the Florida Panthers. I think he can bring it tonight. The St. Louis Blues plus 1.5 on the puck line. Little juicy, but I think it's worth a half unit and the other half on the money line here for the St. Louis Blues. They have played strong in Florida as well. Now the Carolina Hurricanes taking on the Washington Capitals. I can't step in front of the Caps here at home with the plus money that we're able to get on them, especially with the Carolina Hurricanes struggling as of late on the road, losing their last 4 road games. This team has been too inconsistent for me to be able to circle. I expect this one to be a game that stays under that total. It has every possibility of going to overtime as well. The Utah Hockey Club taking on the Minnesota Wild. Give me the Wild to win this, but I think it's an overtime game. This game going to overtime coming in at plus 300. There's no value right now on the Minnesota Wild, so this will be a live betting situation if Utah is able to go up first. I will come back in on Minnesota on the money line at that point. Now, if Utah falls first and Minnesota goes up first, I will be coming in on Utah plus the 1.5 on the puck line. At the end of the day, I think this is a 1-goal game decided in overtime. So I'm going to play around with those numbers there. Kaprizov, I'm going to look at for 2+ points here for the Minnesota Wild. That's coming in at plus 122. The New York Rangers versus the Dallas Stars. I can't trust the Rangers as far as I could throw any of these hockey players or as far as I can skate. Yes, you guys, I cannot skate. I'm going to look at the Dallas Stars in regulation to get things done in this one, but I do think we have a fast-paced first period. Both teams to score in the first period, I'm throwing out the window. I'm not touching it because I don't trust the Rangers enough, but I think we go over 1.5 goals. It could come with 1 goal out of the Stars, 1 goal out of the Rangers. Whichever way it works out, I do think we go over 1.5 in the first period at minus 118. But then I think we see the lockdown and we stay under the 5.5 of the full game. So if you want to wait for that 6.5 and get it and lay some juice there at like minus 120 to minus 130, I don't hate that. I'm going to lock in the under 5.5 right away out of the gate because I'm getting a slight plus money and I still think it's a 5-goal game. Now, Adam Fox is who you could count on here for the Rangers to find the back of the net because Adam Fox has had great numbers versus the Dallas Stars. So I would look at him if you want a playmaker for that game. And then Colorado versus the Anaheim Ducks. You guys, the Ducks are completely quacking tonight. I'll do a half unit on the Ducks plus 1.5 on the puck line and a half unit on them on the money line. I can't trust Colorado on the second night of a back-to-back. They have lost their last 4 as a favorite on the second night of a back-to-back. I'll take Troy Terry and Leo Carlson for the anytime goals for the Ducks. Leo Carlson at plus 420. Troy Terry at plus 270. So you guys, let's jump in on a round robin here. Oh, Charles, that's been a while. So thank you so much for joining me here. So good luck. Good luck to you too, Rob, as well. And yeah, let's live bet the wild in those situations when we see those lines move. So let's jump into the round robin, what I'm liking. We'll start off with the Anaheim Ducks and the Colorado Avalanche. I'm not going to play anything on the Avs in this game. I just really see it being a letdown situation for this team tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the point here. And I think I just want to look at the point for Troy Terry. His anytime point. Sorry, I've got to close off a couple of things on the book to build this round robin. So let's just close this out. I should have had cleaned up. Okay, Troy Terry for the point for the Ducks is where I will go first in this one. As I'm losing my voice, I've been talking too much already today. Then let's look at Kaprizov for the Wild. We will go in for the player point there. Now, the problem with Kaprizov, yeah, it's minus 410. I knew it was going to be even before we got there in this game. Outside of this, I would look at Kaprizov for 2+ points like I'm doing. I really do think Kaprizov goes off in this game. Clayton Keller would be your playmaker there for Utah. I'm going to leave both of them out of this parlay here, round robin, however you guys are doing it. I'm going to go back up. We're going to stay off the Canes and the Washington Capitals, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Buffalo Sabres. This is one where we're going to get those points tonight. I really do think Mitch Marner can come out and get the point on the board. Within this round robin, it's so grossly juiced at minus 265. I'm okay with that in there, and I'm okay with putting Tage Thompson at minus 154. Like you guys said, he's going for his 400th goal, and we know that the Buffalo Sabres will bring it tonight. Rasmus Dahlin is another playmaker outside of this I'd look at as well. He's coming in at minus 120. I like what he brings to the table for them. So let's look at that. And then the next game here. Two playmakers in that one, the St. Louis Blues and the Florida Panthers. I really do think, even though I could see St. Louis winning this in a lower scoring game, you got to look at Robert Thomas. You got to look at Robert Thomas tonight for the Blues to be able to put the point on the board. That's coming in at minus 125. And then when we look at the Montreal Canadiens versus the Detroit Red Wings, I'm going to look here at Lucas Raymond. He's been just so strong for the Red Wings. I do expect him to find the back of the net tonight. And Cole Caulfield is where I'll look at for the point as well. So that is where I'm going. I don't think I'm going to look at any other games. No, we've got everything that I'm liking in there. So the round robin, 6-leg parlay, if you just want to parlay it straight up, you guys, 6 legs coming in at 6 plus 1672. So those legs are, let's just pull this up. The same, okay, they want to give me these same game parlays. We could do same game parlays as well, but I just want the straight up parlay. We're going to take Lucas Raymond for the point for the Red Wings, Cole Caulfield for the point for Montreal, Mitch Marner for the point for Toronto, Tage Thompson for the point for Buffalo, Troy Terry for the point for the Ducks, and Robert Thomas for the point for the St. Louis Blues. So those are your 6 guys for those points. If you want to play around with same game parlays, you can get plus 147 here if you take Lucas Raymond for the point for the Red Wings and Cole Caulfield for the Montreal Canadiens. So that's coming in at plus 147. If you want to look at Mitch Marner for the point for the Toronto Maple Leafs with Tage Thompson for the point for the Sabres, that's coming in at plus 125. And then Troy Terry and Robert Thomas, they are not included because it's not a same game parlay. But if you want to round robin all of these players, and one more time, the round robin is Troy Terry for a point, Mitch Marner for a point, Tage Thompson for a point, Robert Thomas for a point, Lucas Raymond for the point, and Cole Caulfield for the point. You really will have to go 3 times the 12 before and 4 times the 12 gets you plus money. So we're going to have to hit a bunch of these. We're going to have to hit, so 3 times the 12 is coming in at minus 132. If you go to the 4 times the 12, each set of 4 that you hit is coming back at 51.71 at plus 129. So play around with those round robins, you guys. I wouldn't do the 2 times 13 because you're laying way too much juice there. It's minus 251. So a $10 bet is only paying you back $51.83. When we're doing so many of them, you're going to have to hit over 3 of those for that to cash. I'd look at the 3 times 12. I think you're getting more value there. So that is where we're going, you guys. Not goal 400, 400 game, 400th game in the league. Got it. Okay. So 400th game in the league, I still would look at him for the goal. That is a big night for him to come out nice and strong. You guys, let's just see if I've got anyone else that we're really circling there. I have to, sometimes with these hockey reference, you have to double check them because sometimes they haven't been updated. I'm seeing, well, Jonathan Quick's not playing tonight. So we've got no real John Gibson, though. For the Ducks, he's 2 games away from a milestone of 200 goalie wins. So something to watch with John Gibson there. Let's look at those games played. So you are saying Tage Thompson is 2 away from 400. Let's just double check where we're going. I'm seeing 1 away from 400. So tonight, that is a great way. Quinn Hughes also 3 away from 400. So definitely some players to look at. Those goals coming in. Double check on those as well, you guys, while this loads here. Patrick Kane, 25 away from 500. Jamie Benn, 11 away from 400. Vladimir Tarasenko is 3 away from 300. Forsberg, you know we love betting Forsberg. Not playing tonight, though. So, okay, that's where we're going with those. Let's just double check the assists real quick, and then we're going to get on with our day, you guys. John Tavares, 2 assists away from 600. Definitely someone to look at there. And Mika Zibanejad still 1 assist away from 400. Feels like he's been floating on that 1 assist away from 400 for a while. And for the points, that's the last thing I want to look at here, you guys. I can't wait for Ovechkin to get back on the ice for the Washington Capitals. Now, Ovi is out there fully dressed in practice, so that is great news to hear. Patrick Kane is 3 points away from 1,300. So definitely a play to look at there. And Brett Burns, 11 away from 900. You got to love Brett Burns, what he's able to do for the Carolina Hurricanes out there. You guys, all the best in all of your bets. Again, thank you so much for joining me here for Puck It with Jo. Sorry we were a little bit later today. I promise you, I'm going to get back on the Wednesday and Fridays at the right time. There's just some other things that I have to do out there on the grid. So I'm going to get those pre-recorded. The problem was I thought today's slate was going to be lighter. I was going to pre-record and release for you guys at noon Eastern at the regular time. It was just so much on today's slate where I wasn't ready and prepared to give you out all of those bets. So you guys, all the best in all of your bets. We'll see you tomorrow here at noon Eastern on SportsGrid, on SportsGrid TV, on X. And yeah, have a good one, you guys. Best of luck in all of your bets. Hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some freaking money. It's time for Puck It with Jo.